Today, we have with us Jishnu Bhattacharjee from Nexus Venture Partners. Jishnu, welcome to the show. Nexus has been a good friend of our work for a long time. I've known Naren Gupta, founder of Nexus, for at least a decade, if not more. And I'm quite good friends with him, and we love the work that Nexus does, and I believe you respect our work as well. So let's introduce you to our audience. Vishnu, let's start by catching up a bit on where you are right now with Nexus. What is the fund size, current fund size, and what are you focusing on? Just to give a quick summary of what Nexus is right now in end of 2019, going into 2020.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Ramana. Great to be here. So Nexus Venture Partners, we are now in our 13th year. The first investment, the fund started in 2006, December. And so right now, fast forward 13 years, we are managing $1.4 billion. We are investing from our fifth fund, which is 360 million odd, which we raised last year. And it's one fund and one team across two geographies, US and India. And we have offices in Silicon Valley, Mumbai, and Bangalore. And we invest across sectors, both in consumers as well as enterprises. And what we want to, we want to be the first institutional check in a company, and then be with the company through the lifetime. That's the thinking. Across 5 funds so far, we have done about 90 companies, so relatively concentrated portfolio. And when we start working with the entrepreneurs, we want to be their thought partners in building the company through their startup journey.
And Jishnu, from what I understand, you do both India-facing B2C as well as global B2B. Is that a good summary, or am I missing something in that synthesis?
It's actually, no, it's a very good summary. I would add some colors. So if I look back, it's a global fund. It's one fund across the geographies. Now, if I look back, our companies, I would say 1/3 of the companies are addressing in India for India opportunities, and those happen to be mostly consumption, Indian domestic consumption, and Indian, business services, and those kind of things. And the 2/3 of the companies are all technology, mostly software, either starting out of United States or out of India. Now, of course, there are also like a couple of companies we have started in Canada, and there are a couple of companies in Europe like that. But they are all, the 2/3 of our companies are all B2B, SaaS, across both verticals.
Okay. And double-click down on both of the sectors and give me a bit of your thoughts on what is your current analysis, and if you could also set that in perspective historically, what was your investment thesis, and how has that investment thesis evolved vis-a-vis India-facing B2C and vis-a-vis global SaaS B2B?
Yeah, so one thing, when at the onset of the firm, first investment happened in January 2007. I joined Naren and Sandeep in July 2008, and from day one, we have been focused on, I would say, one core theme, which is basically one fund and one team across two geographies. And a little bit of background is, if you look at how opportunities have been evolving globally and as it relates to India and Southeast Asia, India and Southeast Asia is a region which is a hybrid of China and Israel. Why we say that is that China, most of the opportunities are domestic. That's where most value creation happens. Israel, almost everything is focused international, 8.4 million people country. And India is a nice blend of the two. There are a lot of domestic opportunities across education, healthcare, finance, and you name it, a lot of kind of verticals. But there is a fantastic technology talent, and now we are also seeing a lot of operations actually can be done out of India, where you can serve the market globally, and that is increasing. I mean, previously it used to be IT services, but now a lot of product companies out of India addressing global market you get to find who are globally competitive. So with that vision we started, and we wanted to leverage our understanding and of technology, understanding of global technology and presence in Silicon Valley. And progressively, if I look back now, about one third, about 33% of our companies are originating from United States. I think that number has increased a bit over time, and all these companies are software companies addressing global markets. Now the way it is happening is that we are a product first and people first firm. By that what I mean is that we invest in entrepreneurs more than ideas with product thinking. Not necessarily they need to have product on day one, but everything should be led by product. It's product-led growth. We want the companies to evolve to offering something which is self-serve, a self-serve product that can lead to self-serve go-to-market. And because of that, most of our companies which are, offering products, they are being used globally without they needing to, manage a sales force or things like that. So that's how I would say the evolution has happened. Of course, it has gone more towards technology and more towards how do you build something which is simple, easy to use, and just works. So
So one question on self-serve go-to-market. When I think about Nexus, one company comes to mind immediately, which is one of the biggest and the oldest success story out of India, is Dhruva, and the company is maturing very well. I've known Jashprit very well for a long time. He touches base with me very regularly, so I know what's happening there. Now, I wouldn't call that exactly a self-serve go-to-market. That's an enterprise product. Is that an accurate observation? How do you parse that comment?
So very, very, very well put. Yeah, exactly. Not all companies will follow that, but I will tell you, we invested in Dhruva in 2011. And at that time, Dhruva was a small company out of Pune with less than very little, few 100K bookings. But the interesting part was at that time, his product was being used in 26 countries, and none of those buyers, none of those customers he has talked to in person or even on the phone. So they were using the product and swiping the credit card. So, he had that DNA of building a product that people can get started with. So at least the product is self-serve. Now, as the company evolved, it turned out that, there are bigger deals happening and bigger enterprises are showing interest. And that's when we decided that, we need to amplify the market outreach and effort. And that's when we started setting up our sales organization.
It's actually incredibly convenient if you have a groundswell inside of an enterprise with people already downloading your products from the internet and starting to use, then you can upsell that into a large enterprise deal very much more effectively. Very good.
Exactly, yeah.
So, Jishnu, why don't we talk about some of the investments that you're particularly that are particularly representative of how you are thinking and the big achievements. Do it for both B2C and B2B, and let's understand and try to give the audience a flavor of how these people came to you. What did you see in them when you first invested in them, and what was it about them that really caught your attention? So let's do a few case studies.
Okay. So maybe, I can talk about two companies on both sides, and I will give good colors. I mean, I will not, I mean, given that, you are very familiar with Dhruva. Dhruva is also a fantastic case study, but for now I will select two other companies. If,
Sure.
so, so one company is, a company I'm on the board of, is called Postman.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting, let me tell you the present state of the company. The company started in 2014, so I will go back to the history. Present state of the company is, I would say, the de facto standard for all things API, application programming interface. And at this point, about 10 million developers out of the total population of 32 million in the world are using the product. It has it has taken off fantastically. It's kind of like, I would say, after GitHub, I haven't seen anything like this. And the idea really is that, in today's enterprise application development stack, the starting point today is often the API and not the code base, because the codes and services are somewhere there. The way applications are being written today is more getting together those modules and microservices and gluing them with API. So that is, where things are. The company has scaled really well. So let me walk through the journey a bit, and also how we connected and how we got started working with them. So in 2014, this was one gentleman, Abhinav Asthana. I think at that time he was 26-year-old, someone in Bangalore, just one single person, and he has, he was trying to do a company, and he was also working in another company. But before he tried to do any company, he was solving a problem for himself. So which was like, he was dealing with a lot of APIs, and as a young engineer, he was needing to test a lot of APIs, because if I'm using somebody else's API, and if that doesn't work, then my code will not work, even though I might not have done any mistake. So testing of API is a core problem to solve. So he solved it for him. And then it was a very simple product. He released it as open source. And it turned out that, to his surprise, a lot of people are starting to use the product. So exactly. So it was like, he was the representative of many people who were facing the same problem, and they were using the product. So what happened is that one of our other companies, the co-founder of that company, told my colleague in Bangalore that, hey, I have to tell you that this has been a life changer for me. It's one of these most simple products I'm using. I don't know who is this person, but this is helping me, and you have to find him. So then, we didn't waste any time. We found him somehow, and he was just one person. It was not even a company, and he has this project. So we said that, hey, Avinav, it's fantastic what is going on here. We strongly urge you that you start a formal company. So we gave him $1 million and helped him kind of incorporate the company. And then, a couple of other people whom he was collaborating, they joined him, and it's a 3-people team. They started working from our office in Bangalore, and it got going. And from the day one, actually, the product was, so when we funded, it was probably about 80,000 to 100,000 people across the world using the product. Of course, let alone Salesforce, nothing. He just released the product in a GitHub repository, and that's it. And people started picking up, and then, he had, so basically no as such, no big vision and all. His inspiration was the world is being driven by API, and that movement will only continue. But there wasn't really any, any big vision or top-down approach of company building, so to say, at that moment. And we saw the inspiration, we started going. So from 2014, and no talk about monetization or anything. The idea was, can you build something that people love and people use it daily? So then, since then, and we saw that, kind of interest is coming from all over the world. So we knew that Abhinav will have to be based out of San Francisco to create the thought leadership and all that. There was a lot of course, like probably most of the technology companies, the biggest user base, even at that time, was from US. So we invested, and in 2015, actually 2016, he came to US, and the company, got incorporated in US. And that's when we said that, the company would need some more money because we were setting up the business team. And, we gave him another 6 million. And, it was...
Is Abhinav the CEO, or did you bring in a CEO?
That's correct.
No,
He's the CEO. He's the founder and CEO, and he has 2 other co-founders. And, that's when... And then in 2017, I would say, and the adoption started, went from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to cross million. And in 2017, we started thinking of what we should do regarding monetization. And I think, 2018 was our first year of monetization. This is a company, I would say, at this point, growing, tripling every year with cash added into the bank. We also ended up taking unsolicited $50 million Series B, but that money is sitting on the bank, and we'll figure out, what we do with it. But that kind of exemplifies a few core things that we look for. Of course, it's an absolute poster child, and I'm not expecting all the other companies to follow exactly kind of that kind of trajectory. But I would say first thing is, the founder totally obsessed about the problem from day one. Totally obsessed. Problem first, and the solution will come later. But if somebody is not obsessed about the problem and that they have to solve it, then they will never be able to come up with the right solution. That, I would say, one core thing that we saw in this company.
And in this company, Jishnu, I have one question, which is obviously MuleSoft, right? What was your analysis of what's happening at MuleSoft and the trajectory of MuleSoft when you went down this path?
Exactly. Okay. So very, very, very good question. Very relevant question. So if you look at what MuleSoft has really focused on is okay. So it starts from, I would say, TIBCO journey. So TIBCO had this enterprise service bus, and they popularized software-oriented architecture, SOA. And the idea was there will be a message bus running, and on which you will build enterprise applications which will talk to the message bus. That was the architecture until web apps started coming in, and then API came in. So MuleSoft's history, if you look at, they were primarily at that time an open, I would say, pre-2010 was open source enterprise service bus. And then as the movement started going to API, they thought that they would need to build an integration platform where different applications will be brought into their platform and then will be connected by APIs. Now, the core difference in observation that Abhinav had in Postman and MuleSoft is that MuleSoft was about there are existing applications, how do you tie them up? But Postman is about, suppose I'm starting writing an application today, how I am going to do it when there are already APIs which are existing. So it's more of an API first approach rather than a code and application first approach to build the service. So, so it's complementary, but now a lot of things you can do in Postman for which actually, if you are using Postman from get-go, you will not need MuleSoft. So the way to put it is that if somebody has MuleSoft and they are doing it, Postman is absolutely 100% complementary. There are a lot of things you do in Postman which you can't even do in MuleSoft. But many people from bottom up have this, as they started using Postman, there are very few things of MuleSoft you will ever need. So,
Excellent. So this company, I would love to feature in our Entrepreneur Journey series. It sounds like an excellent case study.
Yeah, Abhinav will be, and he is in San Francisco. He'll be very, very happy to talk to you. Yeah, I'll be happy to make an introduction.
Sounds good. You want to do another story?
Yeah, so that's B2B. Now let me talk about a B2C company. That's in India. actually, but it has grown like weeds. It's called Unacademy. The journey started 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I think 2016 for us. He started the company, I think, in 2015, somewhat like that. And then actually 2017, if I'm not mistaken, like, it has grown really, really fast. So the principle was, and our interest in the company started from the day we got to know the name of the company, Unacademy, because his thinking was, how teaching is being done, in an academic oriented approach. There are a lot of things that can be done differently, especially in India, where access to education and great teachers and pedagogy is so difficult. So the idea really is that, somebody sitting wherever in nook and corner of the country who may not have the right coaching center or the right professor or right teacher, can you give them a platform that they can learn? So it is more, for like here, there has been companies like Udemy where people will come in and teach courses. The idea was, how do you do it in a mobile only world, which is India, where, and if I'm an educator and if I know that, I have something to offer, how do I create content on the platform and then start teaching students on the same platform? So the way it started is that, he opened up and built a product where without any help, any educator who doesn't know technology can build the content on the mobile phone. So either you start from some, if you have some slides, or you start from scratch. So it was a platform for the educators, and then once you have it, you publish it on the Unacademy portal, and from there, students were consuming. This was initially, it was totally asynchronous. So you have your, I'm a teacher, I publish my content, and then students start picking it up. Right, and it was free, totally free, when it started. And since then, there are two core principles. One is the educator can build the content very easily, and the second is the content was very bite-sized. So the idea was, you will talk about a topic, but it cannot be more than 5 minutes. And that whole thing took off. Like, they started doing it, now fast forward like 2-3 years, they are serving 10 million students across the country. Which is unheard of for, like, in India, if you look at, there are a lot of coaching centers, and that's where the aggregation of students happen. People go and spend time there, and it's a big investment, and only few can afford. So that has been totally democratized. And then what he did was, like, through that, as suppose I'm a teacher and I release some of the content and students start using, then based on the reception by the students, there is a rating for me on, how I am doing on the platform. And then Unacademy organizes live classes for me, for the interested students who really want to interact and go deeper. So now there are, like, lot of concurrent, and those are paid. So there are a lot of concurrent live sessions happening. Each class might be attended by 200, 300 students across the country, where people do different stuffs. Like, at this point, the classes are happening mostly for test preparations. I mean, it's a huge market in India for all kinds of tests, like, government organizations, government exams, IITs, and many of these, tests. So yeah, and I mean, we are, of course, still scratching the surface, but the company has taken off like a wildfire. Now, there also the thesis, like, two things that resonated with us. One was, really product-led. He hardly spent any money when he started, and even today, actually, the marketing has been very, very minimal. I mean, there is some marketing activities he's doing. Correct, exactly. And the second is, the entrepreneur is very, very kind of like, very out of the box thinker, and he started from naming his company Unacademy, and then, like, just thinking through, not, questioning the status quo. His co-founder was actually a topper in UPSC exam, like, the IAS exam, Indian Civil Service exam, and he was also a doctor before he was topper. He was AIMS. He was a medical doctor from AIMS, India's premier medical institute. He gave up. So all of them are kind of like, very, very different thinkers. Like, he did that. He came out. He topped IAS, but didn't join to take a job. Started a company. and very product obsessed, really problem focused entrepreneurs. So yeah, I mean, um, yeah.
So one question, you mentioned that for Postman there is a $50 million round that you raised that is sitting in the bank. What is the thinking behind taking such a round? Why do you take money when you don't need money?
So yeah, very good question. And honestly, in this case, it also happened that we didn't plan for a raise, but of course, people noticed and they structured it and made an offer which was very difficult to say no to. So the thinking started from there. Now to get to your question, why? Uh, I think few reasons. First of all, as we are going up the stack, there are today now many of these enterprise accounts are coming up. For example, Microsoft alone has 2,000 users of the product, and as we are building out, we thought that having some cushion in the bank that will help us experiment maybe even faster, and b there might be certain kind of parallelization effort of product development that we might do, and even kind of looking at what all auxiliary things might be there that can. So I think from that vision it has been done. Not necessarily that till now I will tell you the company is growing really fast, but there is not a single salesperson in the company. It is all driven by, there is business team, there is marketing, and there is customer success, but there is no sales. So we want to continue that journey of go to market, but invest heavily in, I would say, product development, and also a lot of kind of product led growth, as we say. So everything is data driven. There's 10 million users, but out of which how do you kind of put this into pipeline? How do you nurture things, and how do you grow the business? So we want to kind of stay in that path, but be on the journey, and see be open about, be opportunistic, but no pressure to use the capital. It's a very important question, Shravana, and best, I would say one of the models that we are following in the company in a way is Atlassian. I mean, they also raised a lot of money, but for last they created 30-40 billion dollar of value in a span of 20 years, and for first 10 years they didn't take any money.
Atlassian is a wonderful company.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Company. And they have showed something that is, just like, Zoho showed something that was believed to not be possible. Atlassian has showed something that was believed not to be possible. And these are all superb case studies of how to build companies with product focus and adoption focus, as opposed to, funneling a lot of money into sales. So how much of the portfolio, the Nexus portfolio today, fits into this model? Because I remember Sandeep also talked about the kind of open source, commercial open source model as being one of the preferred models of Nexus. How much have you been able to find? Are there lots of companies that are following this, that are coming to you? Are you able to find lots of companies? Or are they all getting swayed by the unicorn chasing with huge amounts of capital?
I mean, honestly, that is very much there, and it's more of a, for us, working with the entrepreneur's mindset and making sure that, so there are two vectors to it. Okay, so your first question, quite a few of our companies are like that. Maybe, 1/3 of our companies are all product led, and many of them open source, many of them kind of, I would say, if not open source, but something that's a self-serve kind of viral adoption based companies. So we love those. The important part is that, I mean, in today's DNA, of course, money is abundant, and if somebody is doing well, it's not difficult to raise money.
Money finds the way to them.
Yeah, and there is a lot of peer effect also. Okay, I'm a great entrepreneur and I'm seeing my friend, they raise a lot of money, I'm also doing well. But what we try to make sure, and we are very, very bottom up, as you have known, Naren, and the DNA kind of comes from there, very bottom up focus, fundamentals driven company builders. So we want to emphasize that point very much as a thought partner to the entrepreneurs, that focus on your fundamentals, product, go to market, and then as you would scale up. and money funding events are events along the journey, and yeah, these are important and we have to use it, but not like you raise 50 million and start living in glass houses tomorrow. So
Yeah.
so that, yeah, but it is difficult, honestly, and sometimes there are later stage investors who are coming in, they have different expectations, they put in a lot of money, and aligning, I think alignment of the board is a key role we are needing to play
Very,
today.
very much.
You know so and yeah.
Yeah. So absolutely. So we'll chat offline and figure out which of your companies we should feature in the Entrepreneur Journey series, and we'll also get together once we are both back in town. Thank you, Jishnu. It was a pleasure chatting, and I'm sure people in the audience found it very valuable. You're stating a philosophy that is very much our philosophy of company building, which is bottom-up, fundamentals-driven, capital efficient, not gratuitously spending money without figuring out how you're going to make money and how you're going to build a business. So thank you for that, and we will be in touch.
Yeah, no, totally. And thanks to all of you for listening to me for the last few minutes. And great to be here. And thanks again, Samana, for having me in your event.